Mm-hmm.
uh, because then you live really in the moment. Everything ceases to exist,
Mm-hmm.
and this is very, very precious. I mean, you know, no one can escape a difficult life, whether you are rich, poor, whatever. The real difficulty in life is death of people that you love, because your own death, it doesn't matter. Or I mean, before you can fear it, but
Right.
and so there are hard moments, and music can momentarily take you completely away, or maybe there's even a sublimation of things,
Mm.
and it's that's something magical.
Mm.
Uh, and I think that, you know, life is imperfect, and so are we.
Maybe
Uh,
for you. Maybe for you.
but I meant more that human beings are imperfect. But we but music can be perfect. It's fine, and it gives you an oasis of beauty, and I suppose pleasure, and beauty with a capital B.
Mm.
Not that it's just nice. It can be very dramatic, but it's
Mm.
yes, it's an absolute,
Yeah.
and so it's very special.
Yes. Well, um,
So
speaking,
for me, when you say I'm really happy, I
uh,
suppose that, you know, it's a good place to be. And
yeah.
if I don't compose for a few days, uh, I don't think I'm. It happens because, you know, when you finish a big work,
Hmm.
you feel drained, and sometimes you need a few days to just. It doesn't mean that you don't work. You do other things. But you need to recharge somehow. But if I leave it for too long, then I feel really I'm starting to not to be such a nice person to live with. I think that my
Yeah.
wife agree on that. I feel a bit
Hmm.
down if I don't do it.
Mm.
I suppose it's like a drug, but a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a healthy way. Like I suppose that it's like for the body. If you don't exercise at all,
Hmm.
you pay for it, and it's similar for the mind. So if I don't exercise at all, which usually I'm quite a sporty guy. So when I've got holidays, I would be intense. I would do sort of like now. I did not have any holidays for about 10 months, and then I went on holiday for 2 weeks, and I walked about 30 kilometers every day. So, you know, sort of lots
Hmm.
of things, tennis, and but it's healthy, and it's good to do it on a regular basis, even if when you don't have time, half an hour, and if you don't, it's not good for your mind, it's not good for your body. And it's
Yeah.
the same for me in music, sort of that's the
Mm.
spiritual life. And I suppose it's spiritual and intellectual at the same time. So it's fulfilling.
Yes. Let me cut in here. Um, so speaking of life not being perfect, I was going to mention this a minute ago, but you were on a roll. So I did not press record. And also I wasn't actually out on the live stream. So we are now there. We've been there for a few minutes and actually I'm just pressing record now. Oh my gosh.
We are starting to record now.
Now we are. But we've had our Zoom audience here. The live stream needs a little bit of extra curation. Let me go back here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is just give a very quick introduction again for context so that we
Absolutely.
have this. Okay. Um, so first of all, welcome everyone to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, we meet with and learn from fascinating folks in the piano world. And we've got our social medias, we've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We have a podcast, pianotechradio.com. We have a blog, Substack. Um, our guest for today, who we're cutting in the middle of a conversation with, as far as recording goes, is Nimrod Borenstein. And this fellow, I will give a brief part of his introduction again. 60 works to his name for solo piano, chamber
Hundreds.
ensembles, and orchestra. What's that? 100?
Over 100. 60 was a few
Oh,
years ago.
over 60. Okay, so you're on a
At the
great
moment, I'm
clip
writing my
here.
number 108, opus
Okay.
108.
Oh, amazing. Music heard across Europe, Asian Americas, beyond. Career highlights include conducting for the Royal Philharmonic for his premiere of his concerto for piano and orchestra, composed major international competitions. Etudes, Barcarolles, and orchestral works continue to expand the repertoire while inspiring performers and audiences alike. Now, what you missed, which is very serendipitous, if you're checking out the recording or the stream here, is we touched upon Nimrod's background, and it's lost in the ether as far as I can tell. But it was very beautiful to hear him talk about going on these long hikes with his family and coming back. There was some sort of a local musical performance that enthralled him at 3 years of age, and he would sit and watch for hours. And being a musician has never not been what he thought he would be. And we've talked about how happy he is for that. And also the fact it made some jokes about the currency that you can acquire as a musician versus other professions, but also that there's a currency and a capital to other domains. Briefly touched upon the philosophies of French philosopher Pierre Bourdieu to wrap this all into the French aspect. and then we were conversing. Okay, so there's a quick wrap together of everything we've talked about so far. Maybe the next thing to do, Nimrod, is check out one of your recordings so we can get exposure to your music. Would that sound like a good next step?
Absolutely.
Okay, give us some context on Clelia Irusun playing your Barcarolle,
Now,
and then we'll
so
check it out.
Barcarolles is um, when I knew that I was going to give you a few videos to watch, I thought that one would be interesting for piano. It was part of a CD that was recorded entirely of piano with actually the three main domains of the piano. You could say the solo, which the Barcarolle is part of a 18 pieces work called Shirim, and it's one of them, the Barcarolle. Short, each piece is a few minutes, and together they make 30 something minutes. And in the same CD, there is my piano concerto, so the one that you were talking when I was conducting the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And there is a work of chamber music, a quintet, a piano quintet, like the Schubert Trout with a double bass. And so Clelia is a pianist, fantastic Brazilian pianist that has commissioned me the concerto. And it's more than that. She's played tens of my work, and now it's been years that we are friends. We see each other for lunch, not music related, but she's a fantastic pianist and human being. And it's actually it's something. If people are not musicians, it's something interesting. I think that in music, especially between composers and performers, it's either you really click and it works and you're also friends, or it's not going to work because music is very intense, and unless you do it badly, you reveal all that you are and you give it all. So it's like being naked, and you want to do it. You want to be around with friends, and it's funny how quickly you become friends with people, because if you play with them, you know them very, very quickly. And so the extract that you're going to play is the Barcarolle, which is one of these short piano pieces with Clelia that is a fantastic pianist, Clelia Iruzun.
Okay, let's check it out. Wonderful. Thank you. Tell us what makes that a Barcarolle.
I was there are two Barcarolles that are very well known in the past. There is the Barcarolle from Chopin, of course, but there's also the Barcarolle of Offenbach in the opera The Count of Hoffmann. And this is my wife's favorite opera. She wrote a master of philosophy about it, about the demonic forces in that opera. And it's really interesting because Offenbach was a composer of operetta, sort of light music, but and it's often discarded as people sort of don't think that is very important because they remember him from that side. But he wrote this opera and died just before he died, and it's incredible. It's an incredible opera, and there is this barcarolle that is in the middle of the opera, which is a dream. And for me, it's I suppose that it's an homage to Offenbach, but mostly to my wife.
Wonderful. Is it inspired by her personality or the personality
No,
of the operatic piece or
it's
just
for me, it's in general, I find music very abstract,
sure.
and it's like mathematics but with feelings.
Hmm.
But in this case, the Barcarolle of Offenbach, I've got this feeling like you are on a boat, and it's and I in my own style that is very different. It's modern, very very tricky rhythms there, but I wanted to reproduce this feel of you know, and so that's in that sense with the rhythm that goes bam 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 bam.
Hmm.
And almost like a Sicilian rhythm above, tam, patam, pam, patam, which is the rhythm of the Barcarolle, and the feel of something that is usually melancholic, more than dramatic. There can be some bits of serenity and otherworldly things, but usually it's quite a melancholic type of pieces, the Barcarolles. Can you hear me?
Something stalled out. I can hear you now, but for a moment I couldn't. Yeah,
Yes, we
you were
froze.
saying, yeah, I don't know, some internet glitch. Oh, that happened again?
No, I can. I'm okay
Okay,
from
it's
my side.
telling me my internet is unstable, but it was unstable. Okay. Yes, you were mentioning the sort of
The
uh
feel of
yeah.
the pam pam pam.
Mhm. Great.
It's
Uh
one out of 18 pieces, and when you construct, it's you've got pieces that are like long novels, like
mhm.
concertos are, and these 18 pieces are like a set of short stories. But when you
Mhm.
group the short story in one book, they need to have still an order or something that makes them be together. And I thought about it when I constructed um, this record of 18 pieces. It was as a, I wouldn't say reaction, but as to my project that we may talk later of piano etudes. Because I always thought that Chopin wrote amazing piano etudes, and I wanted to write my own. And now it's been going on for 15 years, and I've written 15 actually. 12 I've been recorded on CD, the first 12, and but the etudes are sort of like fire, and the idea is to develop the piano as a virtuosic instrument, so they are very, very difficult. My own addition to the possibilities of the piano. But when I took the Shirim, which Barcarolle is part of, I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to write pieces that some of them, people that are just amateurs, not professional, could play for the pleasure. So it was the opposite, sort of pieces that are as easy as possible in some way. I ended up not writing 18 pieces that are easy because I found that it would be boring. I couldn't find any example in all the repertoire of so many pieces one after the other that are easy. No great composer has managed that. And so there are still, I would say, out of the 18, I would say that someone that is not a professional can probably play 8 or 9, which is half. It's it's a different meaning for me. These pieces are as great musically, but not as difficult technically.
Yeah, I like that too. I love playing with simplicity, in music, and also rules. I forget where it came from. There were some poets um, that had a little salon at some point, and they had all these different rule-based, things they would come up with where you had to write the poetry and this were the rules. And but it's so there's a Stravinsky quote about the constraint, the constraints that you set actually being something that sets you free. Um, yeah, so that resonates with me for that purpose. Um, are you familiar with the pianist Thelonious Monk, the jazz pianist?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, he's also that kind of like simplicity, just take something simple and just really mean it. I'd love to listen to the next recording. Do you want to give us a little bit of background on that one?
So the next one would be the etude, one of the etudes, right? My fifth etude.
Okay.
So when I wrote the etudes, each of the etudes um, have needs to be new and different from the other ones. And my idea was that I was going to do them over so many years because I thought that the only way that you can make each one really, really special is that if you don't compose them all in one go, that you compose one etude and then you do something else in life. I mean, different work, but each of the etudes has got sometimes a very direct technical aspect. Like for my first etude is called ostinato etude, and so of course it's about ostinato. And you got one that is called arpeggio. It's my own ways of arpeggios with different rhythms, but they are arpeggios. And they got the second one is called half moon, because the left hand is always going around the right hand, so it creates like a half moon. But this one that we're going to hear is one of the etudes that are inspired by a culture. So I've got a Brazilian etude, I've got a Japanese gardens etude, and this one is a Chinese. It was a Chinese pianist that originally commissioned me the work. And he said, do you think that it would be interesting, because we are talking, it was only my fifth, but about inspiration for the etude. He said, there is in China this very, very well-known folk tune that comes from a long past that everybody knows. And do you think that you could sort of somehow be inspired by that? And normally, sort of, when I was a younger man, I would have said, no way, I want to be original, that's it. But I'm an older man. And I thought that maybe I wouldn't say no straight away. And I would say, see if I could make it my own, if the challenge was interesting. So I listened to also I'm quite interested by the feel of the Orient. So I really like the literature, the Chinese and Japanese literature. There is something special and something about the emptiness that I am attracted to, and simplicity. So I thought, let's have a look. And it's a love song. And actually, I knew it by ear without knowing that was that thing. And I thought, yes, I could do it with my own source, sort of very complex rhythms, and to incorporate it in there. And it would be etudes when they are very successful. They are not technical exercises. They are etudes for the person that plays them, but they are also etudes for the composer that writes them.
Mm.
And so for me, this one that we're going to listen to was how to use a theme from somewhere else and make it my own, and very virtuosic, of course, because it's an etude. So you can listen and you'll see what I mean.
All right, here we go. That's a great one to hear for the first time. Because
And this is not for amateur players. That is very tricky.
yes,
Very tricky.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, the first time you get the full effect, I'm sure you've heard it before, right? But for me, it's oh my gosh, oh here, where are we going? Is that going to happen again? Um, what's going? There's some rhythmically. Is there anything to call out in terms of what's happening there? When you kind of switch paces?
It's
Is it polyrhythmic? Is it
a lot
I
of
couldn't pick it out. Yeah,
yeah,
like
there
what
are a lot of polyrhythmy in my music, and in some pieces there are some signature rhythms that are not in this piece because I had the original theme. But you know, if you imagine fast notes that repeat themselves, okay. But let's say that your if you want your motive is, let's say, in 7 notes. But you do it as demi-semiquavers, so that's 8 notes in a beat. So the 7 will get displaced every beat. You will get a feeling as you listen that every time the first note of that motive comes back, you're on the beat, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's already quite interesting. But if you do it together at the same time with something that has got a motive of 9 notes,
Mm-hmm.
then the feeling of where you are on where is the beat, and then you float and you glide, and that's what I'm looking for. And certain things feel very it's like, I suppose that it's like in life, it's all a matter of contrast on how you perceive things. So if you've got things that are very clearly rhythmical, and then you've got things that float around, both aspects help the others. And in that etude, there are also sort of very different feels of how every time that the tune comes back, sometimes it's fast, the tune, the ba da 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 da, and sometimes it's very high and mystical. And of course, it's. I was talking earlier of my etudes that precede that, my second etude with the hands over. So I use that as well, because in a way, the etudes in my etude that I've written, they become more and more difficult as each one assume that the previous one has been learned. Somehow, the etude that followed that one is called Mephisto Etude. It was commissioned by an international piano competition. And when they phoned me to ask if I would be interested to write a piece for the competition, I said, I'm in this big plan. I've got the plan of writing lots of etudes. Do you mind if it's an etude? They said, no, it fits our plan. And then I looked at where I was, and the etudes were Opus 66. And that was the sixth etude of Opus 66, so 666. I thought, okay, Mephisto etude. That's the number 666 has to be the devil. So that one is a very, very tricky beast. It's the longest of the etudes so far, 5 minutes long and full of pyrotechnic, and that was quite fun. It was for the semi-finals, so all the semi-finalists would have to play it, 12 people. So it was, and what was very nice is that a lot of them wrote to me before the competition, when they knew that they were through to the semi-final, saying that they really loved the work and they had a few questions. And then it's not that usual it often happens to me, but it's not usual. I know I've got a lot of friends that have done competition, and they always say, "Oh, the contemporary work, it's terrible." In my case, they liked it, but I thought, am I allowed to reply or not? So I asked the competition. I said, "Well, all these people reached me on Facebook and said they really liked it. What do I do? And can I reply, or is it bad? Because then it's like, there are rules in the competition." And said, "No, it's okay. You can reply as long as the reply, everyone can see the reply. So you can reply it so that all the competitors have got the same knowledge," which is fair enough. But that was such a nice thing that over the years, I had many pieces in competition, sometimes for piano, sometimes for cello, violin, and things like that. And it's nice to work with young people anyway. Yeah, it's, and I suppose that also, when young people or play in competitions or even in concert works of the standard repertoire like Beethoven or Brahms or Chopin, they are always so frightened of how it should be, so that it's in style. And somehow, if you are afraid or you try to play in style, there is no better way to kill the music. Because music needs to be alive and you need to feel it. It's not a matter of doing what you think is right. It's a matter of feeling it. Of course, you could feel it wrong, but if you are not feeling it, you are killing it. But when it's a new piece, they feel free of that somehow. And so often, they will play my piece better than they play the Beethoven because they let themselves go. And it's why I suppose that they've got a lot of pleasure doing it. Even if the piece is terribly difficult like an etude, but at least you're not thinking about what you should be doing, but of what you want to be doing, which is what we should all do.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. You forget just philosophically, if you take it in these different directions, right? By saying that there's I should in the first place, you're not even acknowledging that there's all these other possibilities. You're blind to the other possibilities. So that's great. I love that. Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So the other one, this is an orchestral work that
Okay.
I suppose that now we've talked for a few minutes. So you can see that I'm someone high in color, you would say. I'm quite extreme, so that I can be very smiley but very dramatic.
Hmm.
My music that. And this piece for orchestra has got both this type of fairy landscape, but also the drama. And then you can see me conduct a little bit as well.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, here we go. Full screen. Take a listen. Wonderful feeling there.
Thank
It
you.
remi it reminded me of your childhood walks with your family. for some reason. I don't know if probably not your.
Maybe there's something, yes,
Uh,
there's something fresh in that piece.
yes, yeah. For me, it kind of took me to a magical forest. Walking through the forest, and there's a it's both got a sort of sedent not sedentary, but like a still. It's got a still feeling, like there's something still that's just kind of not moving or changing and just kind of being. It's like a state of being, presence. But then all these, like, once you go a little bit deeper, you see, oh, there's a little ant crawling on the flower, and oh my gosh, he fell or whatever. It's like, I liked it. Uh, yeah, I wanted it actually for that particular one. I very much wanted to. I wanted some visuals, like I could see it for like a children's uh animated thing or something like that. Yeah. Do you do any like cinematic compositions
No,
or do
not
you?
so far. It's
Hmm.
it's not something that I'm against. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just that I didn't. I think some people have used my music in short films. Actually, there is a one pieces for some pieces for piano have been used for things for children, like you said, so
Mm.
animation.
Yeah.
But I've never written for a film, or it's
Mm.
not. Yeah, it didn't come up.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me too. There's some really cool film, like little short animated things that we would show my son, and sometimes they would be. I feel like a lot of them they were like commissioned almost by like some national or arts thing, and it would be just like a squirrel befriending like a robin in a tree, and they do all these wonderful things. Anyways, hopefully that goes somewhere. I want so we'll wrap up here soon, and I think I'm inspired to take it back to kind of where we started when we started recording, with this feeling of composition being sort of a necessity for you, or that it brings you someplace. And I just want to explore that a little bit more deeply. Um, is What about it do you think feeds you meaning? And I'll just give you some ideas, and then you can say, oh yeah, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. So for me, I enjoy composing, but it's more, I don't, I'm more just kind of like little riffs, and I don't really write it down, and I'm just kind of more improvisational, but it is enjoyable. And the playing of it is enjoyable, not like writing it down or anything. Um, and I'm just trying to imagine your compositional process, how much of it is listening. So yeah, just explain your process of composing. What a day or an hour or however much time you spend composing looks like and sounds like. And what about that do you think is charging your battery? You know?
So for me, um, it's never been. As I said earlier, my dad is an artist, and I think that he explained to me how he felt, and I feel the same. So I think that for me, from when I started to compose, I started music when I was 3, but I started to compose when I was about 6 or 7. I had my first pieces for orchestra performed by small things by when I was 8 or 9. So it's been a long time. But for me, it was always not a matter of I like doing it. It was not that. It was always when I started to compose, I thought that there was the only point to compose was to do something that is as great as my heroes like Beethoven. So I wanted to be as good as Beethoven. It was not so. I think that my dad says that it's people that just enjoy the process are amateurs, um, because it's in a way it's not intense enough. Because sort of enjoying it is for me it's a matter of like life and death. It's difficult to explain without sounding pompous, but it's the truth.
Hmm.
Uh, I I do it for the result.
Hmm.
So I don't so much care about the process. The process is there, but it's
Hmm.
I don't think the point is a little bit like a dish. So that you go to the restaurant,
Hmm.
you are served the dish. If the cook is a wonderful cook, the
Hmm.
dish is good. I don't really care. I mean, it's interesting to know what is done in the kitchen, but
Mhm.
of course, I need to know because I'm the cook in some way. But
Mhm.
but to give you an idea, because it's true, it's a good question. I know because I'm in life that's nothing to do with being a composer. I'm not late. I'm never late for things, uh, and so I need to, when I accept commissions, to have an idea how long it's going to take me
Mhm.
to write it. And so from age 20, every time that I was composing a piece, I wrote down how long it took me, so that I would have an idea. So for example, if I write a concerto, 30 minutes concerto, like my piano concerto, so I know that it will take me between 250 hours to 600. So the fork is big because there's a big difference between 250 or 600 hours. But 600 hours was my worst case scenario.
Mhm.
And I always imagine that it's going to be the worst case scenario so that I'm not late. Uh, so smaller pieces, uh, sometimes if you are really, really lucky, they can come almost like they came from God, sort of. They come and they are almost ready. But that almost never happens, unless these are very, very, very small. But otherwise, compared to their size, they take longer. For example, a piano etude could take me 60 or 70 hours of work, but it's only 2 or 3 minutes of piece. Uh, so I don't know. I suppose that it's a bit like in literature, the difference between writing a big novel or short
Mhm.
stories. In some ways, a short story takes longer for number of pages than a block inside a long story.
Mhm.
So I've got
There's
this.
some quote, I forget who it's from. I would have written you a shorter letter if I had more time.
Yes, exactly. And it's so true. It's so true. Especially, when you're asking this Oscar Wilde,
Okay.
but I think that especially you notice it very, very much when it's not your field. So if I've got to write a text, I do it often. People ask me to do a program notes or something like that for concert, because I've got about, I would say, 100 concerts of my music a year, and sometimes I try not to repeat themselves to do different program notes, and I refuse to use AI for that. I mean, because these days you can just click and ask AI to give you a little thing, but you can use it. I'm not against it, but not in that sense. But so I think that then if you write things like that, it takes me a long time. Music is easier for me because that's what I do naturally. But it still takes some time, and there is you can be stuck. Like you can have the writer block. I mean, you will necessarily have a writer block in terms if you write a certain piece, at some point you will be blocked. But I think that we don't call it a block when it's just that for a couple of hours you don't find the answer. It starts to be a block if after 25 hours you're still in the same place, and then it's very frustrating and it happens. But so it's in that sense that I think that for me, it's the enormous reward is this world that you create that is beautiful, that is beautiful, not just that it's nice, but that it's yeah, it's like beauty, that it's a certain type of perfection, and that everything is where it should be.
Hmm.
Something that we have we look for that in life, I suppose.
Hmm.
I don't know. So that gives
It
a
actually
pleasure.
sounds it actually sounds like a very almost like deterministic um perspective, as from what I'm reading from what you're saying. So the what is enjoyable and rewarding about you doing it is that it's just getting done, that you feel compelled to just do it. And it's the irritability that comes from not doing it. It's not so much that you didn't participate in the process,
I,
it's that you have something to do and it's not getting done.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that there is something about the result of it. And
Hmm.
there's this, it's one of the, I mean, now these days, everybody probably, I mean, now it's an old film. I mean, you've seen it probably, Amadeus. And when Mozart get asked about the too many notes, and he says exactly the right amount of notes. And for me, that encapsulates what he's composing, is to find exactly the right thing. That nothing, that's a perfection. What it should be. That it's exactly there. On each piece, it's in all. It's has got his own world with his own rules in some way, and in that sense, it doesn't get easier. Sort of whether I composed when I was 10 years old or I compose now, with all the experience, the things that are really important don't get easier. Because it's otherwise it would be boring, and there's a big question mark of what exactly where it's coming from. It's I can understand. I'm not a believer. I don't believe in God, but I can understand that it has got this type of mystical reason that you don't know where it's coming from. But also, I suppose that one of the reasons why it feels so good for me to write is that in general in life we are weighed down by our ego. And I think that I am sure for myself that when you write music, actually there is no ego. Because you don't do it for yourself, you do it for what you think is beautiful. And so you are not doing it sort of trying to express yourself, you're trying to express what you like, which is very different. It's and I think that frees you and gives you a good feel. Because you don't care about, you just care about the result, but in a good way.
Provides focus. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a like you said, life can be difficult, and it takes you to a place you want to be.
It's a magical world.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to wrap up here promptly. Sorry we started recording late, but I think we got the bulk of good stuff. And I just want to make sure give you a moment to share any last words, words of wisdom, a link, a website, performance, a recording. Here's your moment before we wrap up to share what you like.
Oh, I don't know. I think that if people are curious, I'm just now my next. You always have your last project that you did, and for me, it's just at the end of the summer, in end of July, I recorded a full CD of my work conducting the English Chamber Orchestra, and there will be a mandolin concerto, an oboe concerto on Shakespeare songs, and that's coming out in March, which I suppose is not nearby, but it's just a few months away, and that is very exciting. Also, if people want to follow me on Facebook or look at my website, they will see when it's coming out. People will see it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'll walk us out here. We have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks to Nimrod Borenstein for joining us today. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up for this session individually, you can make your life more convenient. Subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour at just $16 a month. You'll get the recording of today's session in our member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. Sign up at bit.ly/joinptrh. That's bit.ly/joinptrh. Don't forget about the podcast, the blog, the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Go to that website, subscribe to our email list. And that about wraps it up. Thank you very much, Nimrod. I'll see you back on the Zoom link in a moment to wrap up together. And for everyone else, we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.